Hey, welcome back to another CPaaSAA Talk. And this time I'm really excited to have two Marks here. And we're going to talk about something that's very close to my heart, which is innovation and acceleration in the communications industry, telcos and other players. Um, let's say based on what we now have in terms of network APIs that are opening the networks and all the CPaaS that has been built over the last year. We're going to talk now about what's possible in the coming years in this perfect storm that we're entering with AI, conversational, omni-channel, and all of that stuff. And I have no idea where this conversation is going because there's so much that we can cover here. But I'm hoping to really get to a meaningful sort of conclusion or some takeaways for how we in this industry can do things a little bit differently. Let's start with introduction. Mark Castleman, Intel. 30 seconds to maybe explain a little bit about yourself and what you do at Intel.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rob. Enjoying being here. So Mark Castleman, Managing Director for Intel's AI Cloud, which is also called Intel Tiber Cloud. And, my focus is to scour the landscape and find organizations, companies, innovators that can benefit from large compute clusters, seeking AI, training, inference, and really pushing the envelope. They need large scale compute. And, Intel is obviously a large scale compute company. And we have a part to play in the AI landscape for now and the future. And part of it is getting out into new markets, exploring new opportunities, and taking the experience and the expertise that we have and bringing it to others and saying, hey, this is what you can do with this compute. And that's really exciting in telco right now. I think we're going to cover a lot of that as part of that opportunity.
Thanks. Mark Simoncelli, little 30 seconds for you, a bit of history.
Yeah, wonderful to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. Such a pleasure to discuss this wonderful topic. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Mach49. I get the privilege of working with many clients, including telcos, with really imagining the art of the possible and giving them the courage to take the next step. What are some of the bets that they need to be placing? So at Mach49, we really focused on this concept of building growth engines, which is building the muscle around build, buy, partner, and invest. We'll get into that a little bit later, but really excited to discuss some of the opportunities that exist in this landscape.
Excellent, thanks. Great to have you both here. Mark C, I'm going to go with the short version. We talked a little bit earlier about the enormous investment that has been done in 5G and opportunity to sort of for telcos to get some of that to start making some money basically. Take me through that. How do you see that?
Well, I mean, if we go back, 10 years at the advent of 5G and the push to maximize the capabilities of the mobile network in particular, and really bring new technology, new capabilities, APIs, connectivity, infrastructure, et cetera. All of that to me feels like this gradual preparation for the moment that we're in. It's been really expensive for carriers to put that together. And in some ways, other organizations, other innovators have taken advantage of that in ways that have not necessarily benefited the telco in ways that they would have hoped. However, with this shift towards AI, and in particular, what I would say is agentic AI, which is kind of return of power to the conversation for the human to execute outcomes for them directly, rather than, let's say, an application. That is a magical return of value, in my opinion, back to the consumer at the edge and the device connected to the telco network. So if the MNO or the telco sees that reality and understands that this is really like they're starting to see the green shoots coming out of the ground, there's a lot to be excited about. It doesn't mean you can't be careful, of course. You've got to do that. But there is a tremendous amount to be excited about. Personally, I'm excited about it. And I think that where we see opportunity, we'll probably see growth if we take advantage of it.
Okay, but how do you go from seeing opportunity to actually trying things or building things or scaling things, especially? Mark S., how do you approach that?
Yeah, great question. So what I'd like to see is a little bit too much binary thinking in this topic. So people are thinking about, do we place big bets? Obviously, there's a lot of big bets that have gone into 5G and other areas. I think these topics are not mutually exclusive. So companies should also be placing a series of small bets and many small bets. How do you place those small bets? Some of those bets, you should be taking some of these ideas that you've generated inside your company or even across the ecosystem externally, and build those into launch new ventures. So taking it out of ideation to really testing those in market with true market signal, testing those with customers, and figuring out which user cases really scale. There's a lot of PowerPoints, there's a lot of discussion about which user cases are interesting. The only way you can truly test this is speak to 150 customers and see if this truly resonates. Do they feel the pain, and are they going to spend money on this pain? That's the true test. So that's one avenue, is really launching and building new lines of business through ventures. The other way is, we've seen a lot of accelerator work happening in the telco space with mixed results, if we're honest. Some have worked well, some haven't worked as well. That doesn't mean it's not the right way to do it, but what I would like to see there is, you can call it venture clienting, different words are used to describe this, but really getting telcos to properly lean and seize their mothership advantage and give the startups the right support through these types of programs. So that's another way, is building ideas, investing in ideas, and partnering with startups in the right way. And they're very much the yin and the yang of each other. So companies need to be pretty intentional about how they build new ventures, but also how they start to think about partnering and with startups in the right way. So that's how I would categorize it. So once again, not mutually exclusive. Place big bets, absolutely, but don't neglect the small bets and building out a portfolio into your second core. And as Mark said, if that is around agentic AI, if that is at the edge, what are some of the bets that you should be placing?
Now, when I think back, a lot of telcos, operators, carriers have done all sorts of innovation stuff, right? Hackathons, and there's a lot of hackathons happening now around network APIs, trying to work with developer ecosystems, investing in startups. So what's different, and why is that not enough or not working? Because I don't recall a lot of very successful ventures basically coming out of telcos.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I would say that this is a mindset issue, I think, for the telco. That is that oftentimes it's very hard for maybe it's not just telco. I don't want to put too much on that, but it's often hard to distinguish between working on something and having something working. These are actually two different realities. You can work on something and never be done, but be satisfied working on it and feel like you're really busy. You're doing a lot, but you're working on it. The job is working. There's another mindset that is, the job is finishing something, completing something as quickly as possible. And if you think about what SpaceX did, they put 100 rockets into the air in 2 years to iterate on the failures, to learn. They learned in 2 years what you could argue in other models took 60 years. So that type of iteration is critical. It was about completing and doing the next thing, and completing and doing the next thing very, 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 very quickly. Now, along the way, what you have to tolerate is a tremendous amount of failure. And so the toleration of failure is critical to success. The more failure you can tolerate, the closer you get to success. And as Mark S. mentioned, it's a numbers game. You've got to get a lot of attempts into the air to find the right mixture that produces success. Now, the great thing about telco is that they are really good at delivering what I would call like solid solutions. So yeah. if we can work together and say, okay, we have this really solid foundation that's been built on all this tech and innovation, and we have this kind of perfect intersection where, holy moly, we get to do this yet again. This seems like it's like a 10 or 15 year cycle where here we are, we're back again. What did we learn before? How can we take the opportunities lost as learning and say, okay, what can we do very rapidly over the next 2 to 3 years so that telco can jump back in the game and sort of have a seat at the table in terms of what the future looks like? To me, that is a mindset issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But telcos don't like failure.
Well, I mean, you could argue like, I don't like failure either. It's really, this is why mindset is so important. It's not that we do or do not like failure. I think it's just a recognition that failure is a path to success. Now, I hate failing. I hate it. And most people hate failing. And by the way, failing is not a requirement to succeed. It's just that it happens. And when you rapidly do stuff, you could do stuff 10 times. It works every single time. Great. Good for you. But the reality is that if you can iterate a lot of examples, what you're getting is more data. It's a data play. Failure is a data play. And when you fail 100 times, you have more data than if you succeed twice. And it's going to produce more successes later. It's like it builds up on itself. And so, again, I don't promote failure. What I'm saying is when it happens, discover, learn, accelerate even faster. And the other thing I would say is that expect it. That way you can remove your concern and your kind of anxiety over it. Like, all right, okay, back to the drawing board. Why? Because the faster you go, you're going to get to that success much more quickly. Now it's celebration time. So again, it's kind of a way of thinking, but I think if telco can take their sort of bulletproofness, if that's a word, and their new knowledge and understanding about what they went through and sort of mix those together with this perfect storm of like this huge revenue shift into conversational AI, it could be a monumental generational win.
Yeah, I think totally agree with that, Mark. Building off being prepared to fail is also learning to kill things early. Sometimes there's a tendency to just keep stretching on this pet project. If you're not getting true market signal, and that's what we really want to see more of, is testing this with real customers, real paying customers. You really want to make sure that you kill things early if they're not showing the right signal, the right promise. So linked with being prepared to fail is also being open to killing things. And in order to do that, you need to place that series of bets. It's a portfolio mindset that's so important, is really placing those, but truly testing those in market and validating those user cases. Because sometimes the issue is putting the technology first before we truly understand the pain that is we're trying to solve, and making sure that they're true customers that want to pay for that pain to be solved. Because there are lots of ways of solving for it. It's really locking into how we're going to get that going. And then once you've got that resonance with customers, then it's figuring out which tools in the toolbox make the most sense. Should a telco build this new application, new solution, or is there some really good startups that are already doing that? But if the telco or the company wraps around that, they've got incredible assets. I mean, think about it. They got customers, they got brand, they got channel, they got so many different things the goodness that they can give the startup. So once again, you've got choice. The choice is you can build to a point, you could partner, you could invest in a startup, you can put two startups together, you can go through a venture acquisition. So that's what you want to see, more optionality on, are we placing enough bets? But then more importantly, are we making the right choices at the different stages of that journey?
The current situation with the telcos, right? It's interesting because we have open networks now, with Open Gateway and Camara and all of that stuff, and it's really starting to happen. And it's becoming a reality that operators worldwide are opening their networks and they're giving the APIs to developers through different channels, which is really cool. So I think there's a mindset that's slowly changing in the industry, right? We're going to an open architecture, open source, open everything kind of mindset approach. So I think it's very different from even 10 or 20 years ago, how these telcos are starting to work. And at the same time, we have AI, which is changing everything, right? We ain't seen nothing yet with conversational and thinking and reasoning and all of that. effect on the network is going to be huge, and the effect on how we work. And I think what's really interesting is that conversational AI is sort of replacing, or has the potential to replace, applications and websites in these circumstances. So this sort of seems to be driving opportunities back to these telcos that have their network APIs, they have their rich channels, they have customer base that you talked about, Mark. They have these enterprise customers that are looking for customer experience and digital transformation. So there's a lot of potential here. But we talked a little bit about, let's say, the mindset that needs to be changed. So how do we go, or what's the opportunity, and what's the, let's say, a simple 3-step, 5-step approach for a typical telco that finds itself here, already done a great work to open the networks and to facilitate APIs, new ways of working. So you're looking for revenues in the next 1 or 2 years to really move the needle. What's the playbook for that? Who wants to go first?
I don't mind diving in. I mean, the way I would set this up, Rob, is I would say that we got to use the skills and the experiences as our strengths to get our arms around where things are going. And it's really hard to change. But what if we were able to kind of, recognize that strength and kind of try to lever it in positive ways? And I'll give you an example. So we had the web economy replaced by the app economy. We have app economy being replaced by this agentic economy. So when those monumental shifts occur, capital gets reallocated and value gets reallocated. So you're exactly right. There are applications that you can get that will help you pick restaurants. That is over in an agentic AI economy. I could have 100 agents finding restaurants for me and making reservations. I do not need a single app with a certain construct of some product manager's mindset about what it takes for me to find a restaurant. That is an old way of thinking. So if you think about what's going on that the telco built under everything, which is with all the APIs, all that infrastructure sitting there, instead of 1 million developers or 200,000 developers or whatever deciding for themselves what APIs are going to be good, we're talking about billions and billions of agents consuming APIs that represent data and actions. That is 100 orders of magnitude greater utilization of that infrastructure than what we've ever seen. So that by itself is going to completely change how APIs, in particular on the communication network, are consumed. And I'm talking about all of them, because there is no way that any of us can possibly imagine what 5 billion people are going to come up with. It's just impossible. And not only that, there's speculation that the Mark GPT I might have 1,000 agents in my life. I got 200 apps on my phone. Why not 20,000 agents? Why not just the agents of Mark everywhere, in every aspect of my life, every fractional aspect of my life? That represents, if you multiply that out, it's just astonishing what can possibly happen. And so all of those APIs are sitting there. Now they're just like, oh my God, we've been waiting for, the crowd to show up. It's like the restaurant is open. It's been sitting there. It's like, and the best soccer team in town just moved in right next door. And that is exactly the mindset. So as a telco, how do we say, okay, we got bulletproof, we're good at building stuff that works functionally. If they just create the ground, which they've done, for the user to decide for themselves which agentic output is valuable, and then build the ability to measure value, the creative world will take over. I mean, that's the way I would kind of see it. And again, there's more ways of thinking about it, but just, in my mind, I would say this is why I think this is a perfect storm. And to the folks in the API world, I think this is a fantastic, fantastic reality happening right now.
So love that. So building off that, now it's a question on, if that's where the trend is going, we know that's where it's heading. how might we think about possible solutions? How might we think about possible hypotheses? And those you want to test, you can run those through venture competitions. Like you said, you don't just want to stop at a hackathon. Like, what comes next? Now we want to incubate some of these ideas. And what I would like to see more of is companies co-incubating. We've done some very successful as Mach49. We've seen some incredible IoT solutions. Shuko and Lexel, Japanese company, German company, taking an IoT device, imagining less water usage in the bathroom, and have come up with an incredible solution. So what an opportunity for partnerships to emerge, co-incubate ideas, work with startups in the right way, but start off with a whole lot of hypotheses that you really want to test, move them out of PowerPoint slides, get them into market in quick time. That's the power of startups. In 12 weeks, you should be coming up with a fundable business plan on what that opportunity represents, because you can test pretty quickly on concepts and value props that really are showing proper signal in the market. So taking exactly what Mark said, I'd love to see more of these tests happening, and not just POCs for the sake of POCs, because you don't want to go PowerPoint just to POCs. We want to find scalable business opportunities that have real significance and resonance in the market. So that's an ideal way to say, okay, here's the trend. Now let's get into a whole series of potential hypotheses, potential solutions, and now let's be maniacally focused on testing these in market.
Hey, Rob, Rob, let me layer on something on that in terms of, hypotheses. I, as an experiment, I created a prompt that I was asking, ChatGPT and Grok and several other models. I said, find me the top 200 applications on the App Store, analyze the value proposition, analyze their revenue, where they generate revenue, and what the primary beneficial features are, and the features that customers don't like. And then I said, create for me a comparable example on that specific core functionality in an agentic model, and give me a new name for it, and tell me how much you think it's worth. And you cannot believe what I got. I got hundreds of examples named. I mean, the AI named them. And it literally came up with it described the application beautifully. I was royally impressed. Where they made their money, how much money they made, what their rank was, what the value prop was, what people didn't like, how many, what their scores were in terms of reviews. And then it built agentic examples of those, hundreds of these things. And it did it in, 60 seconds. The hardest part was writing the prompt so that I could get beneficial information from the AI. And by the way, I did this across multiple different foundation models. And I got comparable results. I got different names, but I got comparable results, which tells me, okay, there's some organizing information in the universe that is actually, because these things get their data from most of the same places, that is telling me, okay, there's something happening in each of these. For me, it was a huge learning. So I think what Mark is saying also is that if you take that, put that ability to make those kinds of tools in the hands of a human with the same curiosity, you're going to get many, many thousands of times what I just did, or millions of times what I just did. And that is where the innovation is going to come from. And the winners will win and the losers will lose, but that's fine, because the ones that have value are going to bubble up and the ones that don't have value are going to go away. It's okay.
Yeah, I love that. And building on that, you've got the synthetic view, because you can get to that quickly through the large language models. Now we want to test that with real humans. So now let's take those quick tests, because we use in AI ourselves to get to quick ideas of opportunities, but you still need to test that in reality. You have to go to real humans. But then more importantly, once we've got to that, there has to be a bias towards execution. That's why we like ventures, because we got to get paying customers. Now you've got this concept, you've got a synthetic view of the concept, you've tested it in reality with real humans. Now let's take that and actually turn it into an execution plan, and let's convert pilot customers to paying customers. Let's get real customers, and then we can start to figure out how we scale this, because every telco, as I said, has got they've got incredible assets. They can help things scale. They've got the tech, they've got the balance sheet, they've got the brand, they've got the customer channels, they've got everything. So can you imagine any startup would kill for that access? It's
Exactly.
startups, they don't always want the money. They want all the goodness that a telco can give them. So if we can really get enough of these opportunities around key domains, key topics, key thesis areas, that's when you start to see an interesting portfolio emerging in the second core. So I guess the key question is, what does that second core look like for telcos, for anyone playing in this communication space? We like to refer to it as the from to shift. This is, I put in a post, is it telco to techco? That's even like at a very high level, but what does techco mean? What is that? Are you moving to the experience economy from just selling, infrastructure? What is that from to shift you're looking to make strategically? And then within that, what are the bets you're placing through your growth engine?
Yeah, this is. We can continue talking like this for hours because there's so much to cover, and there's so many. What I take away from this is there's so much opportunity with the work that's been done in the last couple of years. It's like that perfect storm: AI, the conversational, rich channels, etc. And there's a real opportunity to build new things that we haven't even thought of yet. And to structure that, I like your approach, Mark S. To put that into a predictable structure to build these businesses. I think that's going to be the next step. I look forward to meeting you guys in person next week in Barcelona. Thanks for being here in this sort of teaser. We'll be in the open gateway zone with the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance, and you guys will be part of that program. So will be opportunity for people to learn more and to have further conversations with you guys about these topics. I look forward to the announcement that we're going to see at MWC next week. It's probably going to be really interesting to see where we are now, and I'm really looking forward to what we can do together as an ecosystem in this year, next year, because that revenue generation part is really going to be important, of course. So thanks for being here, sharing your insights, your thoughts, your passion for the subject. Safe travels, and see you in a couple of days in Barcelona.
Thanks again.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mark. See you soon.
Take care.